Welcome to GabTalks, where we provide tools, tips, and techniques to help your life and business be easier, better, and faster. Hello, everybody. How are you? I am so excited that you are joining us here at GabTalks Success Tips from Experts. And today I get to bring to you a lady that I met a little while ago. And wow, what a background. She absolutely resonated with me. We have so much similarity. I could not wait to get her on the show and get her interviewed because I know that she's going to bring so much value today that you guys are absolutely in for a treat. Welcome, Blaney Teal.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely. You and I were talking before the show, and we were talking about your background and how you and I have so much similarity from our childhood. So I'm super excited for our audience to learn all about you and how you can help them grow in their own careers. Let's jump in and talk about your expertise.
Well, certainly. So I actually have two hats that I wear, Gab. So of course, one is I run a networking group, right? So I love connecting people. I love helping people learn how to network without being salesy. But then I put my other hat on and I love helping solopreneurs and entrepreneurs find ways to automate processes in their business, add tools, add tech, but doing it without breaking the bank. I implement all of that into my own businesses over the years, and I find that helping other business owners do it just really lights me up. It's like my passion.
Absolutely. I totally feel you. And I've done a ton of work with small and solopreneurs and homepreneurs myself. And it's a great model of people to work with. And the tech, I agree. I have bought so many tech items and I'm like, this is only doing a slice of what I need, or this is so complicated. And then we have someone like you that makes our lives easier when it comes to that. Let's jump in and talk a little bit about that.
I try to find tools. People say they love me because I vet tools, right? I'm vetting tools. I'm out there looking for things that'll make their lives easier so that they can do other things they love to do, right? Whether it's go on vacation or whether it's to work on a new project in their business.
Mhm.
My job is to find the tool that will work for them. And not everybody's created equal either, right? So
Right.
depending on where you are in your business, you might be ready for certain tools or you may not be ready for certain tools.
Absolutely. And I know that part of why and how you got there has a very interesting story from your background. Let's go into learning all about where you started and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny where I started was a very long time ago. So people laugh at me when I tell the story because I used to make little crocheted wreaths and I would sell them to the teachers in my school when I was like 6 years old. And
Nice.
people were like, how do you do that? Right. I'm like, I love crafting. So I would make these little things and I'd sell them. Well, then I got a little bit older, like say 7 or 8 years old. And we used to go to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware every year for vacation. And I was bored. I wasn't a sun worshiper. And I was by myself, my girlfriend and I. So I would hand paint these barrettes. And then I would literally put them on a board and I would literally walk blanket to blanket to the parents that had little girls and sell these barrettes for like $1. And I would sell out every day. Every day. I go home and I'd make more, I'd hand paint them and I'd go back to the beach the next day. And that was just the beginning. I mean, that's where it started for me. I've always had this crazy entrepreneurial spirit and I get bored very easily, right?
Yeah.
So that was early on. Oh my gosh, then it gets even crazier. So then I created this business called figurine. It was figurines. So it was clay over fabric, fabric over clay figurines. And I would sell them wholesale. I actually had a wholesale store. They were in stores in Annapolis. They were in all over the country. And that was in my teens. And then of course I got married. So I had to stop all that. So I had to stop the entrepreneur for a little while. I know, don't give me that look. I know, but I couldn't stop. So then I got into direct sales because again, that was something I didn't have to make it. I didn't have to stay up till midnight making it. I could just sell it and they would deliver the product and service. And then my world got a little crazy. I actually did new home sales for 7 years. Then I did title work for 7 years. And in there I had kids and all that great stuff. And then I got divorced. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Having kids, you cannot work in real estate very well. It's hard by a single mom,
Yeah.
working weekends, working nights. So out of the blue, I started a kids consignment pop-up sale. So we would gather about 150 families, about, 20,000 items. It'd all be tagged at home. And then I would sell $60,000 worth of merchandise in 3 days. And I grew that business from one location to eight times a year. 4 or 5 locations, 8 times a year. And I did that for 11 years, Gab, 11 years. And I loved every moment of it. But I was the everything in that. And the reason I talk
Right.
about that is I was the everything. I was the person putting the signs out at 2 a.m. I was doing the website, the posting to the groups, and I had to find a way to automate it because when I'm at the sale, I wasn't able to make the post because I was knee deep into checking in consigners and setting up the tables and
Right.
emptying the pack rats. And I did everything for that business for 11 years. And I loved it. It was a great learning lesson because I had to do every aspect of that. And I didn't have a great team around me. It was my mom and I actually doing it for the longest time together. And then I sold it in 2018 to a younger mom because obviously my kids were outgrowing it. And in between there, that's when I started MBX, the networking group, because I really loved, it was fun working with moms for 11 years. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But I really, really found in my heart and my passion was helping startups and solopreneurs, like you said, helping people find ways to improve and grow their business from the lessons
Yeah.
I've learned.
That's a space that I absolutely love myself. What made you decide that that was the space that really resonated with you after having been working with the moms?
It was really people telling me. They're like, Blaney, you're such a great connector. You've got so many people through the years of all the things that you've done, even through the real estate, all the loan officers and the title officers and the realtors that I've learned. They were like, you're just so good at connecting people. And there happened to be a void in our area for a networking group. At the time that I started mine, another one was shutting down. But it was time to really make one that resonated in what I loved to do and the people that I like to connect. And then what was crazy is, obviously the pandemic hit and my business got completely shut down. So there was no more lunches. There was no more networking. It was done. And I had to pivot. And being the techie, I immediately went looking for platforms to host fun virtual events. Our motto is the fun method of networking because there's so many, you get bored getting on the same Zoom day after day. It can be 5 different types of events and they're all the same. So yes. I went after tech and I went after and found some really cool tech to make my networking group fun. And then that started, people kept coming to me going, okay, how am I supposed to do business online now, Blaney? How am I supposed to do my sales? How am I supposed to operate during this time when everything shut down? And that's when the Frugal Techie Business Coach was born.
Ah, gotcha. That's really cool. And, again, I love everything you say. So let's talk about your influence, because when we're out there talking to people and they want to know they too can reach a level of success, knowing where to find influence and helping them grow their own business is really key. And I really love the one that you shared with me.
I'm such a perfectionist and I'm so used to wanting to get everything perfect that I never was taking action. And I'm an action taker, but I would still get stuck. So somebody said to me once, done beats perfect. That it's better to get something out there than to never get anything out there. And right. I get stuck with that all the time, Gab. I'm like, oh, I'm working on some kind of a project. And I'm like, oh, it's just not ready. It's just not ready. And then it's too late to launch it. And so what I found was get something out there and then tweak it. Maybe you need to replace a photo. Maybe you need to edit the wording. Maybe you need to change a font color, but get it out to the world because no one else is going to be as hard on it as you are. That's for sure, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Hello, awesome listener. Thank you so much for joining us today at GabTalks Success Tips from Experts. We're going to take a short break and say thank you to our sponsors. It is through the generous support of these sponsors that we are able to bring to you these amazing experts that are sharing their best tips for your success. So please listen to what our sponsors have to say, and hopefully they're going to inspire you that you're going to click their links and go support them.
Is your computer secure? Is your personal information at risk? Global internet traffic is at an all-time high due to COVID, with mobile accounting for over half of it. Is your financial data under attack? People are on YouTube and Facebook and all over social media. Hackers are everywhere. Can you protect yourself? Tech Assist can help. I think I've been hacked. Help. Keep your personal data safe. Oh no, my computer isn't working. Abby and Dar are your answer.
You've all heard, and you know how powerful it is to send thank you cards, notes of appreciation, and gifts that build and maintain relationships. However, Writing and sending generic impersonal greetings and gifts one by one just is so overwhelming and takes so much time. Not to mention, these days, who wants to deal with lines at the post office, running out of stamps, or having to print stamps yourself? And then there's the embarrassment of missing an important date altogether. Yikes! So, what can you do? If you go to marketyourbiz.guru, you will be able to get help with your greetings and gifts that are printed, stamped, stuffed, and mailed automatically for you. Make sure that you tell them Gabriella sent you. So let's talk about advice for your younger self. I would like to know, if you were going to go back and talk to that young entrepreneur that was getting started, what one piece of advice would you share?
I think the biggest thing that I have learned that I wish I had known back then was to stop being the Lone Ranger. I feel like I always had to do everything myself. And whether it was I couldn't afford to hire someone, or I didn't want to hire someone, or I didn't want to delegate it, I think that sabotaged my success. I was successful, but I think I could have been way more successful, like with the consignment business, if I had hired a team around me. So I really would say, try not to be the Lone Ranger. Like, try not to do that. Like, really look at who you can bring into your business, even early on, that will make you more successful.
I totally agree. And it takes work to find the right people to put on your team. Not everybody's going to be a perfect fit, but when you do find that great fit, wow, what a difference.
You can't be a one-man show and scale. You just can't.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about scaling and advice and what tips you would share with our audience.
Excellent. So one of the things that I always talk about is, number one, is get a virtual assistant. And some people will say to me, Blaney, I can't afford a virtual assistant. And I say, no, you can't afford not to have a virtual assistant. Because think about the tasks that you do every day on a recurring basis. And for me, it's listing my events on Eventbrite and on Meetup. That is something that is just recurring. I have 50 events per month. I don't need to be doing that anymore, right? So I made a video. This is how you do it. And I'll tell you one tip is, if you hire a VA, don't say, hey, Blaney, this is what, leave their name out of it, because if that VA doesn't work out, you got the video to give to the next one. And I learned that the hard way, because my first video, I said their name, the person that was working with me. Now I've had a VA, she's been with me 5 years, so she's amazing. I've since added 2 more VAs, each one with specific tasks. Yes. So again, you don't want all your eggs in one basket. If you order one VA and they're doing everything for you and they get sick or have a baby or decide they don't want to be your VA anymore, you're starting from zero. So I have delegated VAs.
I learned when I hired a VA that I gave the VA a certain set of tasks, and then I started adding more, and the adding more, they weren't any good at. And I realized this was their area that they were good at, and I needed a different person who was good at a different set of tasks as well.
That's exactly right. And there's certain ones, one does all my graphic designs, one does, like I said, my posting, one does my research. And the nice thing about that, though, like I said, if you lose one, you're only replacing one area that you need help with, right? Instead of trying to get them to do all 17 tasks that they're tasked with. So I think that really, there's a lot of resources out there to find great VAs. You got to do your homework like anything else. You've got to interview them. You don't take the cheapest one kind of thing. You really need to make sure that they know. And most of them I do on a trial basis for 30 days. And then if I like them, I offer them a full-time opportunity with me. And I have been very pleased with, virtual assistants. So that's one really big tip. And I think that's changed my business. Yeah. Because I don't have to do all that stuff anymore. I just have to double check it, like just kind of oversee it.
But that takes 40 hours worth of your time that they're doing, and allows you to spend 4 hours on it and 36 hours on other things that is your space of genius.
Exactly. Get some of your time back, right?
Absolutely. What other tips would you share with us today?
So I would say, again, just make sure that you don't try to bite off more than you can chew. So when I teach my clients, I tell them one new task or automation at a time. Because the last thing you want to do is say, well, Blaney said I need all 42 of these things. And then, of course, you go back to the done beats perfect. You don't put any in place. And then you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even need that one. So I always warn everybody that just because I say this is a great piece of tech or tool or software, it doesn't mean you need it right now. So what I teach my clients is to have like a Trello board or a piece of paper and have 3 columns. So one is, oh my gosh, I love this tool and I need it right now, which means you're going to implement it in 30 days or less. Then you're going to have another column that says, I need it soon. So that means maybe 60, 90 days when your business gets a little bigger, whatever. And the last column is, I need it or want it someday, which could be who knows when, depending on how your business scales.
Right.
But if you do that, number one, you're not going to forget the tool because there's a lot of information out there. But number two, you're not going to get derailed. I think accountability is what I see really hurts my clients the most, because they love everything that I'm sharing, but they don't take the time to implement it. Right. And what good is buying a tool, having it sit in your, email library that you never look at if you never use it? So make the chart and then make sure that you just understand that like all the stuff that I have in place did not happen overnight. It happened over time.
I think that chart is incredibly useful because I think that 95% of us out there do that. A lot of us wind up buying tools that we never use or that we outgrow and think, oh, I still need it. But then when we have the tools that we do use, we tend to use them like really, really use, right? Our calendaring software, our live stream software, our social posting software, right? Those are tools like once you use them, you're like very invested. On each episode of GabTalks Success Tips from Experts, we like to highlight a hero sponsor who is a business that chooses to highlight a do-good organization in their own community that is bettering the world. Today's hero sponsor is...
Hi, everyone. My name is Alan Raisman, the owner of thefunofworkingout.com. I'm a Beachbody coach, and on that website, you could try Beachbody workouts out at no cost. But today I want to highlight a wonderful nonprofit outside of Philadelphia. Keystone Opportunity Center provides food, housing, and education to over 5,000 people a year in Montgomery and Upper Bucks County. On their website, www.keystoneopportunity.org, you can learn about the mission, hear client stories, and learn how you can volunteer and support them. Again, my name is Alan Raisman, the owner of thefunofworkingout.com. I'm a Beachbody coach, and you can go to my website where you can try Beachbody out completely free. Thank you.
So I know there's so much guidance and advice that we could be here for hours, but we don't actually have time to go into a deeper conversation, although I love having the deep conversations with you. So let's share with our audience where they can find out how to reach out to you directly.
Well, fantastic. So I created a digital business card that's going to make it very easy for you to find me on all the social media sites, because I am everywhere. I'm LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find me, but the digital business card will get you to all those places and cover some of my services if you want to work with me.
Fantastic. And we will make sure the link for that is down below in the show notes and in the description. So you guys make sure you click on that and reach out to Blaney. She's got so much value to share with you guys. And you have an offer for our audience today.
I do, because the number one thing, Gab, that people ask me for is, what resources am I using, right? What microphone, what lights, what software? So I created the Frugal Techie Resource Guide. It has all the different software that I recommend in there, and it's a living, breathing website page. So it's not a downloadable PDF that you're going to file away. You need to save the link and you need to go back to it and access, because I do remove products that are outgrown or not being serviced, and I may replace them maybe with something better. So my Frugal Techie Resource Guide is like my Bible for my clients of all the different things. But remember, obviously, don't get shiny object syndrome. Be very careful when using it. I need to have a disclaimer in there about it. But definitely, if you're looking for some great resources, those are all the things that I use and that my clients use. And I never put anything in there that I have not vetted.
Awesome. So you guys, that is going to be an amazing resource. And again, Blaney vets them. So you're not just getting random things. She's tried it. She knows that it works. And she removes things that aren't useful anymore. The software has gone out of business or there's something better that's come along. So make sure you click the link below, get your access to the resources, reach out and connect with Blaney directly. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, mark your reminder so that you know when our next episode airs. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We hope you got value today. We want to give a huge shout out of gratitude to our contributors. Please make sure you click the subscribe button below and don't forget to click the bell up above to get reminders when we add new content.